From my childhood till I make this video, I was not able to answer any questions related to GSB origin. I just knew that GSB means Gauda Saraswath Brahmins who lived on the banks of river Saraswati. People are adding their own thoughts and explaining stories like GSBs are not Brahmins as they eat fish. GSB festival calendar does not match with South Indian festival calendar, hence GSBs are Chandravanshis. And one person in North even told me Gauda Saraswath Brahmin means Gaur Brahmins. That means Gaur was pronounced as Gaur. I knew these were their own stories and adding anything as they wish, but I used to keep quiet just because I had no proper information about GSB origin. Not to answer anybody, but every child must know their ancestral origin. Moreover, it is an ancient history even before the time of Rigveda. Present and future generation must know how their ancestors struggled for their existence, the story of migration and their settlement in all the parts of India. And the fact to be proud is that even after mingling with various cultures all over India, GSBs have preserved their own culture, tradition and language. GSBs are Vaishnavas, and one more question was in my mind that if GSBs are Vaishnavas, how come Kuladevata or family god of some GSB is Ramanathi? That means Shiva. The history of origin and migration gave answer to this question also. I have used sources available online to prepare this video, and it is my small effort to tell the history of GSB origin and migration to every child who is busy in internet and always search everything online. Have a look. Gauda Saraswath Brahmins are the most widespread among any other who trace their ancestry to the banks of river Saraswati. But a generally known origin of Saraswath Brahmins dates back to the time when they started settling down on reaching the Indian subcontinent on the banks of mythological river Saraswati. Saraswath Brahmins derived their name basically from the mythological river Saraswati, or it is also believed that the name might have been derived from their spiritual leader, great sage Saraswath Muni, who had lived on the banks of Saraswati. Further, they prefixed Gauda and called themselves Gauda Saraswats when they started living at Trihotrapura, a township in Gauda Desh. They are also nicknamed Dorkes as they stayed in Dwaraka during migrations. In Kalhana's Rajatarangini, written during 12th century CE, the Saraswats are mentioned as one of the Panchagauda Brahmin communities residing to the north of Vindhyas. The others among Panchagauda Brahmins are Kanyakubja, Maithili, Utkal and Gauda Brahmins. Saraswati River is one of the Rigvedic rivers mentioned in the Rigveda. Vedic people lived on its bank during the 2nd millennium BCE. Scholars have conjectured that the Vedic Saraswati River is the Gagar-Hakra river system where found major Indus Valley civilization. Saraswati River was so powerful and divine which inspired the Rigveda to be composed on its banks. It was even elevated to the level of goddess Saraswati, who is the goddess of knowledge, music, arts, wisdom and nature. The Saraswati originated from Har Ki Dhund glaciers in Garhwal, Uttarakhand. It flowed across Uttarakhand, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, and before emptying itself into the Arabian Sea at Run of Kutch in Gujarat. This river went dry approximately 4,000 years ago due to tectonic shifts of the earth. Due to these shifts, supply to the river was cut off and the remaining water seeped down below the earth. Maybe this is the reason Rajasthan has become desert after drying up of the river Saraswati. It is also believed that Triveni Sangam in Allahabad is the confluence of three rivers, that is Ganga, Yamuna and the invisible Saraswati. But experts say the river never flowed independently in Allahabad, but parts of it united with Yamuna, which met the Ganga in Allahabad. There are references of Saraswath Brahmins in Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, and even in Bhavishottara Purana. Education was of great importance to Saraswath Brahmins. They taught their children the Sanskrit language and enlightened themselves from the Rigveda. They spoke Sanskrit in public, but as a mother tongue, they invented a simplified version of Sanskrit and spoke only at home. This language is now called as Konkani. Konkani is a Prakrit language, which is one of the Middle Indo-Aryan languages. Konkani does not have its own script. They used Devanagari script to read and write. Saraswat Muni, the great sage who single-handedly taught Veda to around 60,000 Saraswat Brahmins, was the son of Maharshi Dadichi. He was brought up by river goddess Saraswati. When the river Saraswati dried up, many groups started migrating from the banks. The people who continued to stay on the banks of river Saraswati after several years had forgotten the Vedas in their anxiety to survive. Still, they were eager to learn Vedas again. At that time, the great sage Saraswat Muni was the only available teacher to them, and he taught them Vedas again in his Gurukul. This story is told in Mahabharata, and it is believed that long ago forefathers of Gauda Saraswath Brahmins must have been his disciples, and thus they acquired the name Saraswats as his disciples. In Vishnu Purana, Saraswat Muni's name is included in the list of Vyasas who had rendered selfless service for the preservation and propagation of Vedas. After thousands years of flowing, the glacier began empty and the river began to dry. This led to migration which carried out over centuries. One group continued to settle on the river bank. Few families migrated to the southwest towards Sindh. Few families to north towards Kashmir, and few families to east towards Bihar. The migration routes were towards various directions of river flow. The first route to south and west migration followed the course of the river Saraswati, went up to Dwaraka, and from Dwaraka they sailed to Goa. As they stayed in Dwaraka, they nicknamed as Dorkes. Along the route, these migrants left small colonies behind, and these settlements have been referred to as Saraswat Tirthas in Mahabharata. The second route of migration was from Punjab into Kashmir. The traditions of Saraswats of Kashmir asserts that all Brahmins in Kashmir are Saraswats. During Muslim rule, Saraswats left Kashmir on a large scale. Few families were forcefully converted to Islam. As the powerful Kshatriya kingdom rose, a few Saraswats migrated to Indraprastha, Mathura, Prayag, Kashi, etc. Few migrated to Rajputana and Sindh. Some group have moved to southeast and reached Trihotrapura or Tirhut in Upper Bihar. The major settlements were in Kanyakubja, Magadha and Mithila. After several years, when life in Magadha became unbearable for Saraswat Brahmins, they started moving from there in two groups. This was around the period 1000 AD. One group from Kanyakubja moved east and settled in Bangla, that means now Bengal, where in the course of time they assimilated the Bengali culture. Another group from Mithila moved southwards and reached Godavari river and then again moved to Gomantaka, which is presently known as Goa. From Goa, they also moved to Gokarna Mandala in North Canara. The migration from Bihar to Gomantak is recorded in the Sahyadri Khanda of Skanda Purana. Goa was chosen mainly for its fertile soil and seaports with flourishing overseas trade. Another reason for their migration into Goa and surrounding Konkan region is the marital relationship between the Kadamba king Jayakeshi of Goa and a Saraswat king from Trihotra. In 11th century, several Gauda Saraswat families migrated to Thane and Kalyan in Maharashtra and started sea trade. In the 12th century, some families from Goa went south to Honnavar, Bhatkal, Mangaluru, Telisheri and Calicut to set up trade. Around the same time, another group of Gauda Saraswats went to Gokarn in Karnataka, purchased land and become landowners. Some others who followed and joined services under Sonde and Vijayanagara kings in Belgaum and Dharwad areas. In 13th century and subsequently in the 16th century, during the Portuguese rule, Gauda Saraswat Brahmins moved and settled in Kerala also. The Raja of Cochin took them under his protection. They formed themselves into a community which they named Konkanastha Mahajanam and later came to be known as Konkanis. The local Brahmins of Kerala did not recognize Saraswats as Brahmins. This was mainly because many Saraswats were fish eating and some of them came to Kerala by sea. In those days, crossing the sea was considered inauspicious by the Brahmins. Further, GSBs established own temples and started worshipping their Kula Devatas in homes and settlements. There is a legend behind fish eating that the community leaders advised them to eat fish because fish was the only food available for the survival during a famine, whereas fish and onion garlic is not allowed during festivals, puja or any kind of ceremonies, and also not allowed to the families which are performing Vedic profession. Life in Goa was smooth till 15th century. In 16th century, Panaji was captured by the Portuguese general. At first, the Portuguese did not interfere with the locals. They employed Hindus and engaged them in their armies, and they maintained good trade relations with the Hindu emperor of Hampi. When different Christian missionaries arrived in Goa, forceful conversions began. The Hindu temples were being destroyed and idols were thrown out. In many places, churches were built where the temples stood. Locals, including Saraswath Brahmins, were threatened and forced to eat beef. Many Saraswats who were poor converted to Christianity, and the rich had power to resist conversion and stayed back in Goa. Huge Saraswats migrated to Maharashtra and South Coast during this period. The Gauda Saraswats in Goa originally believed in Smarta tradition. Attracted by Dvaita philosophy of Sri Madhvacharya, many Gauda Saraswats converted to Vaishnavism in the year 1294. The conversion formalities were completed by Padmanabha Tirtha, who was appointed head of Uttaradimath. Despite conversion to Vaishnavism, they did not discard their attachment to the Shaiva gods. Gauda Saraswath Brahmins continued to worship their Kula Devatas, including Shaiva gods such as Nagesh, Ramnath, and also connected with Shakti such as Shanteri, Kamakshi, Mahalasa. Gauda Saraswath Brahmins have Guru Parampara, and they believe that Guru Seva is the way for spiritual sadhana, and the grant of moksha is possible only by the grace of Guru. Present mutts of Saraswath Brahmins are Kashi Mutt Samsthan in Varanasi, Gauda Padacharya Mutt or Kaule Mutt in Ponda, Goa, Gokarna Mutt or Partagali Gokarna Mutt in Kankona, Goa, Chitrapur Mutt in Shirali, Karnataka.
Govardhana Giridhara Govinda Gokula Palaka Paramananda